I've been slacking on the STI and I need to get this car done. This car gets tuned in a week. We still have a handful of things that we need to finish on this car before this thing can even hit the dyno. For the most part, this thing is almost done. We wrapped up a lot of the fab stuff last week with the intercooler piping and everything else, but we still have a little bit of fab left for like an O2 bung, downpipe support brackets, and some other stuff. We have some wiring that we have to do for the radium fuel hangers, the speed density conversion. And just to get this thing sorted, Junior comes into town next week. He's gonna be helping me tune this car, so that way we can get this thing wrapped up off the lift and out of the shop. We're gonna start with the fab stuff, just to get it done with and out of the way. The downpipe just needs its support brackets and then the location for the O2 bung, which I think I'm gonna put that maybe up here. It seems like a logical spot. It's accessible. It's not in the way. It should make sense. Let's get this thing up in the air. Let's do the support brackets first, because those are probably gonna suck a little bit more than anything else. So for brackets, I like to use cardboard aided design, baby. We CAD this shit. So kind of the easiest way to be able to do this, which I could do it like that, do a long strap, which might not be a bad idea, and then support the strap on the backside with another piece. We've got our downpipe done. So I got the O2 sensor bung added in right up here. It's about 6 inches past the opening of the downpipe where the turbos, obviously turbo goes there. This bracket, I was either gonna do 2 brackets, one that went to the trans and one that went to the factory location. I opted to just do one off the factory location. And if you're gonna do that, you have to make sure that it's pretty secure. So I did this like nice little 45L bracket, backed it so that way it had a strap so it's not gonna snap, and then boxed it in on the top so it's not gonna break. That thing is so freaking strong on there. So with our downpipe fully done, let's get this thing permanently installed in the car. It shouldn't be too bad by myself now that I have the bracket on there, so we should be able to just kind of slide it up. I'm gonna take out this O2 sensor though, because I think trying to feed it in with the O2 sensor in there is gonna be kind of a pain in the butt, so we can install this after we get the downpipe installed. Pipe is all installed. We got our bracket on here. It is mated up to our cat back here. We have a gasket in there. This dude, this thing is so freaking solid to the car. We got our wastegate angled accordingly, and then way up there we have our O2 sensor in the downpipe. So everything for the rotated kit is now completely done. Up top, I also threw on the turbo blanket. I have to grab a couple clamps to keep the blanket secure, but for the most part, I mean, I just gotta plug in O2 and everything else like that. But this thing is looking phenomenal, man. The reason that it's got like that weird little pie cut bend section here is I wanted to keep this exhaust tucked up as high as I can, and as you guys can see, it doesn't really come down all that far, which is quite literally perfect for what I wanted. So I'm super hyped with how this whole rotated kit came out. Even the dump tube looks good right there. Up top, this is how the entire downpipe setup's looking also. You can't really see much. It dips down there pretty nicely. So fabrication wise, we're pretty much done. I might make an altercation to the intercooler piping over here just to get it away from the battery a little bit more, but outside of that, this thing is looking phenomenal. Now that we've got this dealt with and done with, one of the other big things that we need to do before we can get this car running is wire in the fuel pumps. I've been putting this off because, quite frankly, I just don't want to do it. I'm being lazy about it, so I'm gonna get this knocked out. I'm gonna time lapse through this for you guys. If you don't know how to wire these in, I do have a full video showing you guys a step-by-step procedure on wiring in these radium fuel pumps. Let me just get this thing knocked out. It'll probably take me about 2 hours, and then we can move past that. And then from there, it's just a whole bunch of little things that we gotta do on the car. All wired in. I just have to hook up the fuel level sensor side and plug this in. I opted to put the trigger for one of the relays on this little connector so that way I can unplug it and plug it as needed. Everything looks nice in there. It all runs out here. We've got our ground going back there for the pumps and one of the relays. In the front of the car, I've got the fuses tucked behind this IAG shroud. Coming down, they go to the battery, and then one of the wires goes to the hob switch, and the hob switch grounds to the starter right there. So our fuel pumps are all wired up. Like I mentioned earlier, if you're looking for a full DIY on how to wire that thing up, I've got a video on it. I'll link it right up in the corner so that way you guys can reference it. So let's get the back seat, or let me get the back seat cleaned up real quick, get the seat back in, all that stuff, and then we need to jump to the engine bay to start knocking out the last of the little stuff up there. We have a couple small things to tidy up. I'm gonna build the base tune for this tonight so that way we can start this thing tomorrow. We have to get fluids in here. One thing I had to do, I did this off camera, was I built a map sensor delete plate with a gasket so that way this is sealed up. Normally I would just put a WRX throttle body on here because they don't come with these. However, I don't have any more. 08 to 14 WRX do not have these. So we've got our map sensor here, hob switch here wired up to our fuel pump. We've got 1, 2, and 3 ports. The rest of them are up there that I got to put in here. And then just kind of route the rest of the vacuum lines. I got to route these gauge wires into the cabin of the car. And then I think the last thing is just wire up our IAT sensor to our map, or old MAF sensor. The next day, I went home after we got everything all done in the engine bay. All the wiring, all the vacuum lines, we got fluids in. Specifically, we're gonna talk about coolant for a minute. So I put coolant in the car last night, came in this morning, and saw coolant on the floor. I was like, all right, maybe it's something easy, coolant crossover, or a coolant line, something's just kind of dripping coolant. After further investigation, this is what I found. I just wiped both of these heads clean. Let me take this towel out of here. Right now, no coolant coming out of the head gaskets anywhere on that side or on this side. I'm gonna let this sit for a couple minutes with pressure on it and see if we got coolant coming out. This is after about 60 seconds with pressure on the cooling system at maybe, I don't know, maybe 1 bar, really not much. And we've got coolant coming out of both head gaskets. It's already pulling up right there as well. So that means that our engine has an issue where it is weeping coolant out of the head. We haven't turned this, we haven't cranked the engine over. We haven't started it. This engine has never ran. It just has head gaskets installed. I went back and looked at the raw footage. I torqued all the head studs to 115 foot-pounds. They're ARP 625s. Head gasket orientation is proper. With this block, when it was machined, it required a set of 1 millimeter thick head gaskets. A factory head gasket, which I've just been going through and trying to figure stuff out. This is a factory head gasket, measured the thickness. The thickness comes in at about 0.5 or half a millimeter, where the head gaskets we're running are a millimeter. So from what we can see, it's weeping coolant out from in between the MLS gasket. Like all the pressed gaskets together, it's all coming out of there. So obviously we have to take this engine back apart. I hit up Jeremy at Outfront because they did all the machining and everything with this thing. They provided the head gaskets with it, so I'm not gonna tear the engine apart quite yet until they tell me, or if they ask if they want any more tests or anything like that. I went out and I rented a coolant pressure tester, put about 9 to 11 PSI in the cooling system, which this is a 1.4 bar radiator cap, so it'll see 14.7 to 15 PSI anyways. So not even reaching the maximum threshold of the pressure the cooling system's gonna see, we're weeping coolant. And we're weeping coolant out of bank 1 and bank 2 on the top of the engine and the bottom of the engine in multiple spots. So I pulled all the coolant out of the car so that way it's just not gonna keep dripping everywhere. So unfortunately, we're not gonna hit dyno day this week like I was planning, which it sucks, but it's not the end of the world. This whole issue we're having sucks. It's annoying, but it's also not the end of the world either. It's very easily remediable. It's just a setback, which I've never seen this before. I've seen a handful. I've asked all of my Subaru buddies who know a ton about Subarus like we do, and no one's seen this. It's mind baffling. So as soon as I get an update from Outfront on what we're gonna do next, I'll let you guys know, but for the time being, we are on standby until I get some type of answer of what they want us to do next. It is now Monday morning. I've already talked to Jeremy at Outfront. What he recommended we do is heat cycle the engine with the head gaskets in and with coolant in the engine. He said that with external leaks like that, he would 100% recommend doing that before tearing the engine out or anything else like that. So that's what we're gonna do. I've got our base tune loaded on. I've got the battery on a tender. I've already set fuel pressure. I took the coolant out of the car, so we're gonna put coolant back in the car, run it, and then pray. He said just forget the leaks even there, heat cycle it, and then don't worry about burping the coolant right away. So he said he's only ever seen this happen on JE Pro Seals. It's a good indicator that it's not something that we did. It is a head gasket thing. So let's put some coolant back in this car and let's see if we can get her started up. Should fire right up. I don't know if I have enough coolant, but it should be enough to be able to heat cycle this engine. Eyeball, I guess. We'll heat cycle it a couple times. We'll let it warm up, cool down, warm up, cool down, warm up, cool down. I'm using 2 different types of coolant. I know one of them is Subaru OEM, one of them is Xerex. That's all I got around the shop, and for what we're doing right now, it'll be fine. I could use distilled water, but coolant's gonna be easier to see when it leaks since it's blue. The question isn't if it's gonna leak. The question is, will it stop leaking? Oh, my power steering! What? It's puking! Really? Power steering. What the fuck? Why? Does that count as a heat cycle? I gotta plug my laptop into it and pull fuel out. It's adding, or it's trying to remove 25% fuel. It's idling at like 9.0. Which is, you know what? I got a laptop, I can plug into it, I can make those adjustments. Right? Okay, well, I'm gonna let the cooling system kind of chill out for a second. We'll heat cycle it again in a couple minutes. I'm gonna get my laptop set up so I can plug into it when we start it this time and remove fuel as needed. I'm gonna do another heat cycle, but I don't see it leaking coolant, which is wild. So this is very weird. I've built hundreds of these cars. I've never experienced this on a... I mean, granted, when you start building so many cars of the same car over and over and over again, you tend to experience all the weird little problems that you'll probably ever have on them. That's a first for me. I've never had a head gasket seal up after heat cycling the engine. I called Jeremy and Jeremy was like, yeah, we see it every now and then on the JE Pro Seals and a couple other ones and whatnot, and after heat cycles, it clears up and it never does it again. So that's crazy to me. That means we're good for dyno. So Fernando's actually gonna come pick this car up in the morning and tow it down to his shop. I'm able to get the car to idle at 14.0, like kind of a choppy-ish idle, but it's enough for me to be able to heat cycle the engine just to be able to get this through. So I'm gonna heat cycle it one more time, let it cool back down, verify that we have no coolant leaks. If we have no coolant leaks, I guess we've solved the weirdest head gasket leak problem on a brand new engine that I've ever seen on a Subaru. Dude, it just still blows my mind. Like, logically, my little plebeian brain doesn't understand that. How would heat cycling an engine seal up at, I don't get it. Maybe it's head gasket thickness, I don't know. So after heat cycling the engine, you guys, there is no more coolant leaking out of either head. Which this is still the weirdest thing to me. There's dried up coolant, but there's no leaking coolant. So, looks like we're going to the dyno tomorrow. And well, this car's getting tuned the day after tomorrow, but it's gonna get trailered down there because there's a couple little last minute things I gotta button up on this. The wideband wiring is chilling down there. Coolant still has to finish being burped. I couldn't get the thermostat to open. I need to be able to rev it higher, but with the tune, I got the tune cleaned up a decent bit, but still. So, dude, crazy Subaru head gasket stuff. Never seen it before. Apparently people have seen it on FAs, people have seen it with other gaskets, but this is like the most infrequent issue I've seen on a Subaru. So I will take that as a freaking win. So with that, that's all I've got for you guys on this one. Our white 2015 STI is ready to go get tuned. Junior's gonna be tuning, I'm gonna be tuning it with Junior's gonna be tuning it with me in the passenger seat so I can learn some stuff on this one too. So with that, that's all I got for you guys on this one. If you learned something new too, go ahead and hit that like button, turn black, blue, green, yellow, purple, silver, cyan, whatever color it may turn for you, and give me your horsepower guesses on this thing. Turbo Smart 6466, E85, ID 1700s, twin Wall Bureau 450s in the fuel tank. So I'm gonna estimate 680 to 720 is where I think this car is gonna land. But anyways, if you guys are not subscribed to the channel and you wanna be, go ahead. I'll put it in one of these corners. No idea which one quite yet. But with that, I'll catch you guys in the next one. So peace out, homies.